Welcome to the Relationships Inside Out podcast with Doctors Gregory Siebert and Kimberly Murray, licensed marriage and family therapists. Join them on this journey as they explore the ins and outs of relationships.
Welcome to Relationships Inside Out, where today we're going to be talking about sleep.
It makes me sleepy just thinking about it.
Yeah, very, very important. It's actually a health behavior that a lot of us don't consider a health behavior.
We overlook it.
Big time.
There's almost and tell me if I'm just catching this, there's almost praise in like people who don't sleep a lot, or like I only need a little bit of sleep, but I work all the time, or I'm always moving.
Very productive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep is extremely, extremely important as it relates to health outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at people who report poor sleep, like about a third of people report poor sleep, and about like 17% are diagnosed with some sleeping disorder. But that's like 75 million people approximately have sleeping issues in the United States, right?
And that are reported.
And that's the thing is, I mean, poor sleep over long term is related to obesity, hypertension, stroke. I mean, you name it. Sleep is very, very, very important.
Increase our risk for mental health disorders,
yep.
For relationship dysfunction. Like it's correlated to everything.
Yeah, it's an extremely important health behavior that's often overlooked, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
And so today we want to bring attention to that and hopefully find ways that we can prioritize that and think about ways we can think about our sleep differently, so we can actually get better sleep.
Sleep is vital. And I think about like with my kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
They skip a nap if they have to get up early, if they go to
God.
bed late. Everyone and their mother knows that children must sleep a consistent amount of time in a consistent pattern. Otherwise, all hell breaks loose. But yet somehow as adults, we forget that that's still a thing. That's not just for kids.
Yeah.
That's for everybody.
Yeah. It impairs our ability to function, right? We're more tired throughout the day. We might actually make a little more mistakes.
We're not as sharp mentally. We might be more pissy.
Less capacity to manage stress, which is big time for relationships. And we think about this as bi-directional, right? And I mean, if you have a lot of stress in the relationship and then you go to bed, you're not getting good sleep. And then you wake up and you have less capacity to now manage that stress again. And now you're in a repeated cycle. You're off to the races, right? So, and about, 60% of the people report kind of sleeping with a partner, right? So that's another factor we take into our sleep behavior is it's not just us. Sometimes our sleep issues can be associated with what's happening with our partner. If they're snoring or kids, if they're thrashing around or you're sleeping with pets, right?
Whew.
I have to sleep with my pets.
You sleep with your dog in the bed?
I have to.
Oh gosh, it's a hard boundary for me.
She's at the foot of the bed. Yeah.
Oh gosh, our cat's total a tangent here, but our cat sleeps with us and he sleeps next to my head.
Oh,
he tries to sleep on my feet because I think it's warmer. I will kick that cat off so fast. I cannot handle someone touching me in my sleep.
Yeah. But you bring up a good point is that would interrupt your sleep, right?
It would infuriate me.
Yeah.
But yet for you, it's somehow comforting, which I don't know. I think we should get you checked out.
I don't know. Maybe it's an attachment thing. Maybe I don't actually get better sleep. Who knows?
But there's so many factors, right? Kids, even a baby monitor.
Yes.
My parents don't think about it. Even our kids aren't crying.
Oh my gosh.
The simple fact that I have to remain like slightly vigilant to that monitor the entire night interrupts our sleep.
Technology.
Oh,
Well, you know what's interesting? What happened to the parents that before technology came about that didn't have the sleep monitors?
their kids cried all the time.
Without them knowing.
And then they became psychopaths.
Oh God.
I'm kidding. Really kidding. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But now you're expected to have a monitor, right?
Yeah.
And I think there is safety in that. That's not me knocking on that.
Sure.
But you have to have that vigilance all night. So I can be in REM and then my baby makes a noise. Even if they don't need me. Wakes me up. Right? I'm acutely aware of it at all times in my sleep cycle. I don't get to just check out.
They talk about that with even your phone next to you.
Yeah.
On an unconscious level, you're aware of that.
You're aware of it.
You're aware of it.
Or you hear a little buzz from it, or the light kicks on, or whatever.
Oh gosh, yeah, the notifications. I forgot to silence it, or but just even being there, or looking at your phone, right? Today we're going to talk a lot about sleep hygiene in this, but we really want to stress the importance of sleep as a health behavior, and making sure that that's a priority, even in relationships, right? So first, you want to identify what's going on. What is the behavior that might be leading to disruption? And to be honest, not every couple, it's not beneficial for them to sleep together for their health stuff. And it doesn't mean that you can't have us time later, or other times like cuddle, maybe while watching TV or
even in one of the beds.
In one of the beds. Yeah. But then sleep separate. Like the person who goes to sleep a little bit later, maybe slip out or something. You don't have to sleep together. I mean, there's couples that sleep together and they get better REM sleep. That happens. There's couples that sleep together where that's not the case.
True.
And so just being honest with that and setting up a system that works for you where you still feel connected. Again, finding time to cuddle and that physical connection that doesn't just have to be in bed. Speaking of bed,
okay, this goes to the sleep hygiene piece. People, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it like 80 times for those in the back. Bed is for sleep and sex only. It is not for TV. It is not for phones. It is not for work. It's not for studying. It's not for anything other than sleep and sex. It is not a playground. It is not a fight. It is not for any of those things. Our body needs to know when we're entering into our bed space, it's a place of relaxation. It triggers our melatonin. Our body has to feel safe in that space and restful and relaxed. If we're using it as a place to watch murder shows, our body doesn't know that melatonin should be kicking in right now.
It's so funny you say that. I actually never really thought about that, but that comes up a lot with my clients. And I'm like, we're talking about sleep hygiene. I'm like, okay, great. And they're like, well, I just watch a little bit of TV before. I'm like, what do you watch? Like crime. I'm like,
murder shows.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
Suspense. And Stranger Things.
And I said, so when you're done and you shut that off, do you go lock your doors? Yes. I'm like, we should probably not watch that before, but you're right. I mean, you're really wanting to let your brain know that this space means sleep, nothing else.
Or sex.
Think
like a bear, your den. It's your den, right? It is a sacred and protected space. And we've gotten away from really keeping it as that sacred place. And if any of my clients are listening, they've heard the speech from me because it is so important that becomes our sacred domain.
They're like, Kim on her soapbox again about sleep.
Oh my gosh, sleep hygiene is my thing. Every client gets a speech about sleep hygiene because if your mental health is struggling, one of the first things we think about is where's your sleep at?
Yeah. And also, how are you managing your stress to get good sleep? Because stress will impact that. So part of it is understanding your sleep hygiene, the things that you can do, which include managing stress.
We'll talk more about some other ones. Yeah.
But even if you have to go to a therapist to find some skills to manage that, even if it's like just mindfulness and relaxation techniques. And that's part of sleep hygiene. You can listen to, try not to use your screen, but listen to like guided meditations or progressive muscle relaxations or anything to help slow your body down.
Calming sound. Sound baths.
Yep.
So in other parts of sleep hygiene would be, we're not going to eat food or drink anything 1 to 2 hours before bed.
Oh, I love my midnight snack.
Oh my gosh, don't do it. If you have a snack, it should be very light, healthy, very low in sugar, 0 caffeine.
I feel it in the middle of the night.
I bet you do. Yeah, Greg, you know better. You can have little sips of water, but what it does is it kicks in your digestion. It makes you have to pee.
Yep.
Not helpful. Spikes our blood sugar. So really cut out all food and drinks besides a little sip of water.
Yeah.
Before bed.
Keep the lights dim. Try to dim those at least an hour or 2 hours before. You're kind of preparing your brain to go to sleep. No bright lights, even blue lights. Get rid of that.
That includes all screens. Now, screens, people, includes your Nooks, tablets, phones, TVs, computers, your ebooks. Nope. At least an hour before, those need to be cut off and put away.
Yeah. And you can take a hot bath and read a paperback book, not crime or murder.
No. Nope. You don't want to learn about the murders? No.
Take a hot bath, read a book, take a hot shower, take sleepy time tea.
Meditate, cuddle. There are lots of things. You can stretch, do some gentle yoga or Pilates. You can even prep for the next day. Like you can still be in movement, but we're not on those screens. And duly, we're not waking up and immediately getting on a screen.
Yeah.
It's both ways, right? Our sleep, we also need to come out of it gradually. Not just abrupt, okay, my alarm went off. Now I'm going to scroll through the news and see about my murders here.
Yeah. And this isn't a process where you're like, okay, I'm going to do everything that they talked about or everything I read about sleep hygiene. And then you're supposed to get better sleep the next day. It might take a little while for all this routine to really start benefiting you.
Because there's hormones at play. It takes time for our system to reset.
Yeah.
At night, your room should be pitch black, not like sort of dark, no, pitch black. Think like a bear here. Nice and cool. We think 70 or lower typically. It needs to be comfortable. So investing in a really good bedding set, like it's your
you can
domain.
never invest too much in your sleep. Like in my opinion.
Like buying an Uller.
Yes. So what that is, and there's other brands out there, but essentially it's a pad, a cooling pad, but you can change the temperatures anywhere from like the 50s all the way to 100s, depending where you sleep. You can control the temperature when you go to sleep, and then have it dip down, and then when you wake up, bring it up. It's extremely helpful for me personally. Like, I haven't had night sweats since using that.
It's incredible.
And I read about it, and there's other versions out there, but this is something you invest in because they're not cheap, but it's controlling my body temperature and helping
every day, right? And our sleep underpins everything else. It's
something that you do continuously. And if you're sleeping with a partner, it's one of the few health behaviors you do continuously. It is very, very important to think about and invest in your sleep.
I think about how much you spend on Starbucks a year. The cooler is going to last a year or a lot more, but at least a year, right? You've probably far surpassed that on Starbucks and eating out, right? And that's gone in 30 minutes. So thinking about how can we invest in this long-term when sleep truly underpins everything.
Your health stuff. Would you even need that coffee, unless you're caffeine dependent, but would you even need that to wake yourself up if you're getting good sleep consistently?
Sure.
Another thing too is finding ways to shut your mind off, especially for a lot of us who our minds are racing, anxiety, depression. So part of that with the skills you learn in therapy, or if you've done on your own, researching online, doing those skills to help shut that mind off. Meditation's a good one. We just talked about that. Something that interrupts it and grounds you. I love the things that have you focus in the present, like your senses, like we've talked about in previous episodes, like the things you see and smell and maybe even taste or feel around you, and then use breathing to slow down your stress response system. And even if you have to do that multiple times over, because the beauty of like mindfulness stuff, right, is a la carte. Use it, what's going to be working for you and how you want to use it.
Protecting your sleep time routine. So sex, for example. Sometimes couples have sex at night. Sometimes they have it during the day. It doesn't matter, right? But for some people, when they have sex, it actually revs up their system. If you're one of those people, we're not going to have sex an hour before we're trying to go to sleep. Other people, it knocks them right out. So being aware of even those nuances, right?
Yeah.
Being aware of if, like, I can have coffee all the way up till bed and it doesn't impact me one dot.
So high dependence, go ahead. What were you saying?
I have 2 kids, Greg.
Oh my God.
But like my mother-in-law, she can't have anything, chocolate, coffee, nothing with caffeine past noon because it revs her up. So if she has it at 2 p.m, even if she's not going to bed till 10, it interrupts her sleep. So we're paying attention to all these nuances, then trying to follow a routine. So every night around the same time, we're trying to start shutting our body, our home down. We wash our face, we take a shower, whatever it is, in the same rhythm. And we try to go to sleep and wake up around the same time each day.
Think about a computer that needs a long time to shut down.
Taking you back to the 90s.
Oh my God.
Some dial-up. Well, that was for internet.
Another model that they look at with sleep is a resource model. And it's this idea of like your sleep is a drive. And that drive needs to be built up through physical activity throughout the day. So exercise earlier in the day can help out. Napping.
Don't exercise right before bed. Can I just say this?
Yes, do not.
Do not do it. It's not good for you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah.
Soapbox.
You're right. I mean, but you want it earlier in the day so you can build up that drive. In naps, as tired as you think, hold off. Because if you nap, then you're taking away and you're depleting that kind of drive. And now when you go to bed at 10, you might not be able to fall asleep, or maybe you get a light sleep, it's not deep enough, or you wake up early.
Good point.
So thinking about it as a resource model of don't take naps if you can help it. And granted, there's always gonna be people out there who are like, if I take naps, I'm the best person ever. It's like, do what you need to do.
Or there's gonna be the random days when maybe you need to.
But ideally, right, from a resource model perspective, let that build up through the day and then hit that pillow hard.
We also think about white noise or a fan, right? That can help the brain to calm down. Also having moving air. So fan, open window. Caveat with open windows, you're probably going to get some light unless you live like way out in the country. But that can be really helpful. So having that moving air.
You mean you don't like stagnant air in while you're sleeping?
No. I have, count it, Greg, count it. At minimum, 2 fans going a night.
Oh my goodness.
My poor husband freezes to death.
Wait,
and I'm over here like, I need more.
Are you the one that has all the fans on and then you have like 10 blankets?
No, I just have a sheet and a bedspread, but I've got a sound machine and 2 fans and I sleep with earplugs.
Good for you. Yeah.
None of it makes sense to my husband.
Yeah.
Which is fine because to him, he's like, well, you have all this other shit that's covering up your ears. So why do you need earplugs? But the combo of that space helps.
And figuring out, and especially if you see the partner, kind of monitoring each other of like what's happening, right? My wife, she takes a little bit longer to sleep than me. For me, I can hit the pillow and I'm out, but I don't sleep like a log like she does. But I don't sleep like a log like she does. I can get up more easily in the middle of the night for whatever reason, right? Like the other night, for some reason, I heard the door creak, and I'm like, she never gets in the middle of the night. Somebody in here, right? So I woke up out of dead sleep. I'm like, okay, I'm not going back.
It'll be great when you're a parent, by the way. It's gonna be awesome for Taylor.
So the thing for that is figuring out what that is. And if you do see some symptoms like thrashing around or snoring, go to a doctor, kind of go get that symptom.
Snoring is not normal, people. Like some sound is normal. But when we joke about like people who are really loud snorers, go get it checked out.
Yep. Sleep apnea, most likely, or something.
Anoids, it can be all kinds of things.
And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't like these big machines. Like the research is getting to a really good point. And there's some great research at UCSD where they're doing like this tongue thing. Like there's smaller devices, but you really need to be assessed to know what's going to work for you. And especially considering how important sleep health is. Would you rather have that machine and sleep well and feel better mentally and physically, especially like
sleep apnea? Let's face it, it's a medical health condition that has real impacts and real risks if left untreated. Yeah. But even like night terrors or sleepwalking, some people naturally do this, but it's figuring out, is it a medical issue that needs to be addressed or not?
Yeah.
We learned with our daughter, she sleepwalks, that she had an iron deficiency. No idea that was a thing. We started supplementing iron. She no longer walks, right? So
no longer sleepwalks.
Sleepwalks.
I was like, what? Oh my goodness.
It came out really bad. But finding for your body, like, is there something that's amiss? Is there something that you can get some support with so we can not just hone in on the sleep? Sleep's important, of course. But if you're iron deficient, it impacts far more than sleep, right?
Yeah. And when we say like healthy and good sleep, that does not mean the more hours you sleep, the better.
Good point.
Because on the other end of this thing, too much sleep, we're starting to look at depression or other symptoms like that, right? That's mental health side of things.
Or why is your body requiring so much sleep? If you're feeling tired throughout the entire day, get your cortisol checked, get your melatonin checked, get your other hormones, vitamins checked within your body so you can see, is there something underlying?
Yeah. Go to a professional who knows about this stuff, who works with this stuff, who knows correlations between a lot of those hormones or things like that in sleep. Also check your mental health, right? What's going on? And is this happening at certain times of year? Like we talked in a previous episode about seasonal affective disorder. Is this coming up around certain times of the year that for you? Just being very aware and in tune with your body so you can make sure that you are getting the best sleep that you can possibly can, which again, does not mean like 14 hours a day.
And it's different by person. Right.
Yeah.
My hubby's optimal is like 5.5, 6 hours. To me, if I did 5.5, 6 hours, I would be an ogre the next day. For me, is more on the 9 end.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone's got a range, mister. Not a 14, but 9. I need it.
I remember
brain
those.
Is whipped from the day, and my kids wear me out.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, like, I know if I'm going to be best functioning, this includes on vacation. This includes on the weekends. I'm not skimping my sleep just because it's a vacation or weekend.
Yeah.
I'm not skimping my kids. On vacations, my kids still take naps. They still go to bed on time. They still get up, right?
Yeah. And having your partner know about this and know your guys' routines and respecting that and figuring out how you guys can navigate that and build reciprocity around it, right? Because partners who sleep longer and the other one who wakes up, they tend to naturally just fall into like certain morning routines or something, right?
So I might do it as avoidance. Totally kidding.
One thing that came up too, I think is really important is that you talked about vacation, and I'm thinking a lot of drinking happens on vacation, depending on the individuals. And that you'll go to sleep, but you are not getting quality sleep.
Nope.
You're not getting that deep sleep that you need.
It is an absolute sleep disruptor. It's up there with caffeine.
Yeah. So thinking about that is if you are taking supplements to try to go to sleep, make sure that they are actually helping your sleep, because you might need some medication to go to sleep. And that's okay. Figuring out, talk to a doctor, professional about that, what that looks like. But along with that medication, also adjust your hygiene. Also adjust areas in your life that you know are disruptors, and see that if you can actually manage it without medication at some point, if possible.
With those medications, I want to put the caveat out. Don't just go to the store and buy melatonin because you think that'll help. Go see a medical professional, right? Often we supplement melatonin in because that is our sleep hormone. But let's find out why you're not producing enough melatonin, not just medicated away.
Should that be the case? Maybe you are producing enough. This is why you need a professional to look at it.
Yep.
So
sleep doesn't, and you said it earlier, it's not just about at night. It starts from the time you wake up. How do we pattern our world so that when it comes to sleep, our body is ready for it, so that we feel safe, so that we feel calm, adjusted, whatever it is. For some partners, not only do you sleep in separate beds, but sometimes having one partner go to bed ahead of the other can be helpful. Like if I know my partner snores, maybe I go to bed a half an hour before so I can fall asleep before they start snoring.
And you send them to the doctor.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Sleep's complicated, but yet it is so important. And it starts again in that infancy stage.
Yeah. And I think you hit on it too, is routine, right? Because we're preparing our body. We want our body to know that at this time, this is going to happen. When we're all over the place and we're going to bed at midnight, one night, maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and then, another night, 8 o'clock, like that inconsistency.
Our body doesn't know when to produce melatonin.
Yeah.
If I follow routine, my body is starting to prepare me for sleep long before I'm in my bedroom laying down.
Yeah. If
it doesn't know when things are going to happen, we're setting our body up for failure.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the idea of the light stuff. And I'm bringing this up because if we wake up in the middle of the night, don't grab your phone to go to sleep.
No.
I know you think it helps or things like that, but maybe you don't get a good deep enough sleep. And the reason why is that your brain sees those lights and it's now preparing to wake itself up.
So if you are laying in bed, here's a rule. If you're laying in bed, you don't lay there for more than 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, you are not falling asleep. Gently get your body out of bed. Go read in a corner with a very soft light. Maybe stretch. Some kind of quiet activity with very dim light. And then try again after 20 minutes.
Yep.
Don't try to force it. You're going to make yourself anxious and stressed and irritable because now you're pissed that you're not falling asleep.
Oh, is that what's happening to me at night? I'm just kidding.
And don't get on your phone. Don't eat.
Yeah.
We want to go and eat a snack or something. No.
Warm glass of milk.
Oh, yeah. All these myths. It kills me, Greg. But it's important because it's not just about how do I feel. It's, okay, if I'm not getting good enough sleep, how's that impacting my work production, my parenting, my marriage, my relationships with other people, my driving, my ability to be safe in the tasks I'm doing.
Yeah.
To be effective, right? If I'm well rested, I'm going to clean my house a hell of a lot faster than if I'm like drudging through the day.
Yeah. How do I be present? It's hard to be present when you're struggling because you're not getting good enough sleep. And everybody who's had issues sleeping, this, like this, this experience, that feeling. It's awful.
It's core, right? And the lack of it impacts every facet of your life.
Our previous episode, we talked about New Year's resolutions, and now it's like, I'm thinking maybe improving sleep hygiene or sleep
yes,
would be a great one.
Because it's so important.
Extremely, yeah.
And when we talk about those health New Year's resolutions, sleep is part of it. Sleep is part of weight loss. Sleep is part of mindset. Sleep is when your adrenal glands get to reset, so cortisol production, when your body gets to rest and rebuild. All the things that are important for being healthy happen.
Yeah.
By and large, in your sleep.
And it is important to talk about with your loved one if you're sleeping with a partner, especially if there's a lot of shift work and changes in shifts and a lot of inconsistencies.
Own animal.
But having conversations of what you guys want this to look like. A lot of people just fall into it like it is what it is. If you want good sleep, talk about it. Create a structure around this. If this is changing, maybe that person sleeps in another room or another place of the house during that shift change until you guys can adapt.
Yeah. And being patient with your partner. So my hubby, does he love that I sleep later than him?
He's jealous
on the weekends? No. I go to bed before him every single night. Because if he sleeps the same amount I do, he's groggy, he's grumpy, like it doesn't serve him. But we talk about it as a team. But yeah, sometimes I want us to go to bed together. So I might go a little bit later and he might try a little bit earlier to do that. But being flexible with one another. What works for my body for sleep may not work for my partner's. And it's important that both of our needs are met. And how do we do that?
Yeah. And for some of us, that time, because I wake up earlier, typically, unless I'm like up in the middle of the night, then I'll go back to sleep and I'll end up sleeping later than my wife. But typically, if I'm up earlier, I'm like, that's my time to myself. I actually find enjoyment out of it. I actually get her coffee ready. I find ways to be productive. So when she gets up, she can be like, oh, that's nice. So for me, it's a motivator. So I'm like, ooh, I want to do this and surprise her that the dishes are emptied or whatever, but finding ways to use that time where instead of me like just staring over her and be like, how dare you sleep longer than me? I can actually just be like, you know what, this is my time. I get to go do what I want. Especially on weekends. I'm like, this is really nice.
And some people naturally are happier in the morning, and some are naturally happier at night. So night owls versus early birds. For me, we get up every morning at 5 to work out, and my alarm goes off. I'm ready to go. My husband, not quite the case. So for him, even though he needs less sleep, I know in the morning, I'm not firing questions at him. He hates being asked questions in the morning. I know I'm going to let him get his coffee, go to the bathroom, like take his time. So we plan for that, right? Before we work out so that we're not rushing to the workout. And at night, the reverse is true. He knows like by night I'm shutting down. I don't want a lot of questions. I kind of be left alone. And he honors that. So in preparation for entering and exiting sleep, also that of how do I honor this space for my partner?
Yeah.
Right. If he wakes up and I'm like, okay, what's on the agenda for today? And blah, 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 it will drive him nuts and it sets the mood for his day.
Yeah. And you talk about some people are like happier in the mornings or happier at nights. And then there's some of us like myself who are just not happy ever in that.
I wasn't going to say anything, but.
But sometimes that might be the mental health side of things, right? We want to be honest with ourselves and think about, okay, well, what's going on for me? And sometimes it's simple things as like work burnout. You're not prioritizing putting boundaries and putting self-care as like a priority for yourself. And so you're burnt out and now you're increased stress. You have less capacity, more likely to get in arguments and conflict with the loved one. And then you go to bed. And I mean, it's just a cycle. So you can you can attack good sleep with the sleep hygiene aspect of it. You can do it with improving your mental health, improving your relationships can help. Because if that's not healthy, right? Say you're not stressed in general, like, chronic stress, like work or something, but you're having conflict with your partner and that relationship's not going well, but here you're going to bed with them, like get that fixed. There's different ways to adjust this. So really assess for yourself where that might be. And it could be maybe your partner has some sleep symptoms like sleep apnea or whatever that need to get checked out. So you guys can figure that out.
And if you have kids that are disrupting your sleep, which I relate with, if it's really disruptive, you don't have to grin and bear. Yes, the first few years kind of suck with kids in terms of sleep, but there's sleep consultants, pediatric sleep consultants that can come and help you get your kiddo to be sleeping by and large through the night so that you don't have to be waking up every couple hours for the first few years, right? So even mitigating that, how do we support our kids to have good sleep? Because the habits they develop as kids will translate into how they are as adults. Yeah,
and healthy kind of routine check-ins and titrating off of that. What does that look like for your kid, right? It's different. You have a colicky child. It's like,
and each kiddo is different.
Yeah.
Right? It's no secret that my daughter's an HSP. What she needs at night is a little bit different than my other daughter, who is not at all an HSP.
Highly sensitive persons for you guys who haven't heard of that acronym. And it was in a previous episode as well.
It's worth checking into. Sleep is its core. It's core to how we function. And often we say we prioritize sleep, but then if quote unquote something needs to get done, the first thing we cut is sleep. Instead of cutting out a daily task or dinking around on our phone for a half an hour earlier in the day, we don't cut that out. We cut our sleep short. I challenge you to shift that mindset to are all my tasks done before I'm on my phone? And if they're not, start there so that you're not cutting your sleep because you chose to prioritize your phone earlier, whatever it might be, right? Really protect that sleep space.
Yeah. And I'm a huge proponent of work smarter, not harder. And I think in a culture of time is money, sleep gets put on the back burner.
True.
But are there ways that you can work smarter, not harder, be more efficient, cut down on your lives where you have time for yourself to get in these routines and shut down? And some people's jobs just don't, allow for that. But how can you do that within that context and prioritizing this, like sleep as a priority?
Sleep team is so, 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 so important. I cannot say it enough. Like I said, every client I work with, we talk about sleep, not because it's just something fun I like to talk about, but because it truly is core to our daily functioning.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Relationships Inside Out, where we talked about sleep and how to get better sleep and the importance of sleep. As always, if anyone has any questions, feel free to email us at relationshipsinsideout@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thanks.